Haley, the producer here, man. She's all pro. So it says we're live, but let's see. I always like to confirm there. Well, we got a set reminder.
All right.
Haley, so that's me. Haley, you have to switch though, because I think now we're in speaker view and we want to be in gallery view because you're only seeing me when I talk. So that could take a little bit because of the delay here, but everyone that's tuning in, welcome to, there we go. Now we're up and we're live. So here we go. We'll start again here like a brand new. It's only a few seconds late, so it's not that big of a deal. But good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 555 Fitness Pulse Check powered by ZOLL. This is episode 3. And if you've tuned into episode 1 or 2 over on the National Fire Radio channel, you'll notice that tonight is vastly different looking than what we've done in the past. On the Pulse Checks, we are all about health and wellness and trying to make the providers healthier. So for the past 2 Pulse Checks, we've done various functional fitness style workouts. And tonight we decided to switch it up a little bit and talk about another end of health and wellness that is crucial, if not probably more important than the workout end, and that's the nutrition end of everything. So I have a very, very special guest joining us tonight. He is a great friend of mine, a great friend of 555 Fitnesses, a great friend of ZOLL's, celebrity firehouse chef, AJ Fusco of Fork and Hose Company. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Pitt? I feel like we've done this before.
I do feel like we've done this before, and we have done this a few times, but tonight's a unique night because I'm kind of like in the 555 Fitness studios here, aka my office. I'm not cooking. Usually we're cooking together. Tonight, you're going to be the only person cooking because you're the professional in my book, right?
Yeah, I try to act like I am at least. This is kind of, I've never sort of cooked for some of the audience that we're going to have tonight as well. So this is fun.
It's pretty awesome. It's a little different and I'm excited. And if you are watching, whether you're tuned into the webinar on Zoom or you're tuned into the live YouTube feed, if you have any questions for Chef AJ, for me with 555 Fitness, with anything like that, feel free to type them in the chat. We are monitoring it and we'll be able to answer them. But before we really get into the cooking, which we are going to jump into really quickly here, because I know we have a lot to make in 1 hour. But AJ, can you just give everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Pip said, my name's AJ. I'm a career firefighter in Westchester County, New York. I always have to throw we're about 20 minutes north of Manhattan in there. It's a suburb. It's a quiet little town, but we're growing, every year, being so close to the city. We are a combination department. Started off as a volunteer for about 2 years, and then I made the move to the career side. I'm sure it's going to get brought up, so I'll just go right into it. I realized pretty quickly, and I know Pip can attest to this, the firehouse kitchen is the most vital room in the firehouse for many reasons. But the main draw for me right away was the food. And when I started cooking, which I never really was into before, but when I started in the firehouse and I started making the guys happy, it made me happy. And then that's kind of what grew my passion into cooking.
AJ, anytime you cook, it makes me happy. Except probably tonight because I don't get to smell or eat any of this because I am an hour and a half away from your kitchen right now. I'm kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, but the good thing is these are very easy recipes that are, using workout terms, scalable. Yeah, throw it in there. See?
You got it in there, man. You got to get it in there. Scalable. I love that.
Scalable recipe. Trademark.
Works out perfect for us. But one of the things too with the recipes we're going to go over tonight, this is really about meal prep too. Now you can definitely make these at home for yourself, for your family. You can make them if you're in the firehouse or the station. But what we're going to focus on with these meals is the ability to do what in the kind of fitness world they call a cook up, where you take the beginning of your week, and I know in fire, EMS, police, we don't really have a beginning of the week, right? Like I see all these people like it's meal prep Sunday, and I'm like, I'm at work and it's Sunday. Like we don't, no such thing as a regular week, but you do a cook up for your week. So you'd be able to scale these recipes up and prepare them for all your shifts. Because we know a lot of the viewers that tune in on the ZOLL channel are EMS providers who may not have a station to go back to. I know when I worked career EMS, we had stations, but we had only a microwave. They didn't trust us with an oven in any of the stations that I worked in. So if you were doing some form of meal prep, it had to be reheatable. I've even worked in some EMS situations where we had no station. So I was able to, heat up my meals on the go at a Wawa. There you go. I couldn't think of the name of it at all. But so with that being said, we're going to try to get these meals so that they're preppable. And we're going to talk a lot about meal prep tonight too, and meal storage and all those things like that. So without further ado, though, let me turn this over to AJ so I don't keep talking.
Yeah. So to hit on it real quick, I wanted to, after talking to Pip and, kind of figuring out what the audience is and what they're going to maybe be looking for, I realized if you don't have that chance to heat up food, this is a recipe that eats well both cold room temperature, but also heat it up as well. So we're going to make basically two variations, and this is something I like to do with meal prepping, is kind of make your base ingredients, your base recipe, and then dress it up somehow to kind of make it seem different. And that keeps things interesting. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm eating grilled chicken 3 days in a row, but at least it's not the same grilled chicken, 3 days in a row. And I think that's important for consistency and to keep, that kind of meal plan sustainable.
Yeah, and you see too, if you are watching on YouTube or tune into the ZOLL YouTube channel, all the recipes are underneath the video. So you could follow along as Chef's cooking, and you can see at the end, he has a few different sauces that he's going to go over tonight that you could use to switch that up. So I'm definitely excited for one of those sauces.
And in regards to the recipes in general, I honestly don't like recipes because I feel like you get disconnected from the actual cooking process. So what I encourage people to do is try them and then tailor them to your taste. So you might not like paprika, or you might not like as much of it. So tailor it to what you like. Don't say, well, Chef AJ told me this is how it's got to be made, so therefore that's the way I'm going to make it. Okay. I want you people to really focus on the actual cooking part. All right. So I didn't mean to come off like
he was like, focus on the cooking. All right. Just pay attention to what I tell you to do. I do it. Listen, I'm a great sous chef. Whatever you need, chef, I'm here for you in New Jersey.
All right. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to make three things that I think meal prep really well. The first is probably the most popular, I would say, meal prep ingredient of all time is grilled chicken. And then we're going to make farro, which is an ancient grain. It's part of the wheat family, so it's not gluten-free. If there's anybody gluten-free out there, there's other options we can go over that you can substitute. I actually like farro more than brown rice. I think it's more nutritious, and I think it eats better.
It takes better flavor on, I feel like.
100%. It's got a better chew to it. It absorbs flavor really well, and it's really phenomenal cold, like in cold salads. So that's why I picked this for this tonight's meal prep. And then green beans. I mean, green beans are, probably not everybody's favorite, but definitely one of mine. And then when you prep them like super simply, you can't beat it.
Yeah, green beans are big in my house. My kids actually eat them. So we've been making them a lot recently. So if my kids are going to eat it, we're making it,
About it. To start, though, we're going to pick the ingredient that's going to take the most time. And part of cooking is like time management. We have a little less than an hour now, but we're going to get this all knocked out, no problem. Farro takes different various amounts of time depending on the kind you get. And it's an ingredient that actually is probably readily available in most supermarkets now. Up until a few years ago, it might have been tough to find it, but with healthier eating being, pushed to the forefront now, it's pretty easy to find. This one I have takes about 30 minutes to cook. There's ways you could go around that. If you want it shorter, you could soak it overnight, like if you're making dried beans. 30 minutes to me, though, is not a big deal because I could get everything else that I'm going to make finished while this is cooking. I'm going to add a whole clove of garlic just for a little bit of flavor. I don't want to like overpower it. I'm using chicken stock. If you don't want to use stock, you could use water. You could use vegetable stock, totally up to you. And the key to this, we're going to cook it almost like pasta. We're going to season the water with sea salt or kosher salt. And it doesn't absorb all the water like when you make rice. So it's much easier to cook in my book. I am not a great rice cooker. I'll be the first to admit it. Farro, it's a no-brainer. You cook it like pasta, you drain it. So you don't have to worry about how much water do I have? Is it too much? Is it too little? If it looks like it's getting dry, you could add more. I have it going right now. I'm going to dump it in, give it a stir. I'm going to season. I'm using sea salt. I definitely recommend it if you could afford it. If not, kosher salt. Whatever you do not use ionized salt.
I was going to say that. I learned some things from you, AJ. Never use the ionized salt. Easy enough. You know, and I know you mentioned before too, you know, this is a 30-minute farro, but when you're in the store looking, there's different timed farros you can buy, correct?
Yeah, so I'm sorry I got my back to you right now.
Sorry, you're busy.
So if you look at the package, you could read the directions. If it says, you know, do this, in 10 minutes you're ready, then you know it's the quicker cooking one. Some of them will be 30 minutes, some of them up to an hour. Look, if you see the words pearled, that's an immediate indication that it'll cook faster. Same thing, like if you find barley will be pearled barley or not pearled. That'll cook just like farro does. Some may take longer, some may not.
You know, I had the same problem with you with rice until we got an Instapot. I finally figured out rice in the Instapot. So that's like my go-to way to cook rice. At least I could do it now type thing.
You know what it is? I'm stubborn. So to me, it's like every time I'm like, I'm going to do it now. And I usually fail. And it's embarrassing because, you know, I should be able to know how to do it. I've had chefs teach me 3 different ways and they're all like, no, it's so easy. You just, you know, put your finger in it. It's 2 knuckles deep and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know, whatever. I just cook farro.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that either, but get yourself an Instapot. I highly recommend that for the cook up too. You know, and when you're doing a cook up like this for the week, you know, I've always found kind of how AJ said, you know, we're going to get this all done in an hour, but you have to set yourself up for success. So you do your shopping, you know what you need when you go to the grocery store, you get everything laid out and your timing going, and you just start going. And within 2 hours, you know, you have enough food for the week if you've done it correctly.
Yeah, and I think another thing, you know, which I like to incorporate into cooking in general, but even meal prep, is take a look into your refrigerator or your pantry first before you go shopping or make a list. Because it'll give you an idea of, okay, what do I have already on hand? What maybe should I use before it goes bad? We'll talk about it in a little bit when we do our sauces and our garnishes and all that, but I'm a big fan of fresh herbs. I think they add a ton of flavor without adding calories and fat and all those things. Plus, it's a way to kind of brighten up something. You know, if you think about it, meal prepping, you're cooking something twice if you're reheating it, right? So sometimes, you know, with that, you might get like a duller flavor with the dish, but when you have, you know, fresh parsley that you're going to garnish on the top, or scallions or cilantro, basil, anything like that, it kind of adds a pop of flavor without adding those extra calories or extra fat.
There it is, right? You don't want to add any of that extraness to it. And I've never really thought about cooking it twice when I'm reheating. You know, I just always kind of felt like I'm just reheating this, you know?
Exactly. And I mean, so like today, you know, we're going to be grilling up chicken. I can guarantee you everybody out there has had dry chicken breast, right? It's just, you know, it's easy to overcook. In the recipe, I don't think it says thin sliced, and that's by design for me. I don't particularly like the thin slice when I'm doing like grilled chicken meal prep, because if you're going to reheat it and it's already this thin and you go pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, you're turning it into cardboard. So I prefer to keep it on the thicker end, so that way when I slice it, I could kind of control how thick it'll be. So
I think that goes down to too when you're purchasing your chicken breast. You know, if you're at, you know, I do a lot of shopping at BJ's and Costco's, like big box stores. I mean, you get these like huge breasts. When you see that, you know you have to half it. And it doesn't mean, depending on your meal, if you're going to pound it down or not or whatever. But usually when I look at the size, if I half it and then maybe half it again, you know, that keeps it to where I know how to cook it. But that's something you learn over time, you know, what your size is.
I highly recommend. There's so many different kinds out there. This is a instant digital thermometer. It's pretty like, I mean, 2 seconds is probably too long. It's immediate. And it's not lying, you know, the numbers don't lie. I definitely recommend those, especially in the beginning when you're just starting to learn how to cook. It'll help you build confidence in knowing things are getting cooked properly, and that sort of thing. So time management, I've got my farro cooking behind me. I'm gonna get into the grilled chicken. I've marinated this already in the salt, pepper, and paprika with a little bit of olive oil. Ziploc bags are your friend when it comes to this. Easy cleanup. You could certainly put it in a bowl, put it in the fridge, you know, covered. But to me, you can't beat this. Plus, it allows you to squeeze the air out of it. And when you do that, you get more contact with whatever marinade you're putting it up, you know, in it, and it'll speed that up a little bit. It's almost like vacuum sealing without using a vacuum sealer. Which, if you have that, that's a great tool as well. But this recipe, simple: salt, pepper, paprika. We wanted to keep things pretty approachable, things that you probably have in your pantry. Some other ones that I definitely recommend: cumin, chili powder, curry powder. There's so many different kinds of that, but find one that you like. Barbecue rubs, make your own, find a store-bought one. Just keep in mind with barbecue rubs, they generally have sugar in them, brown sugar. So you have calories and that sort of thing, but also things will tend to burn faster. So keep an eye on it whenever you're cooking. So I've got a grill pan here. Not ideal. If I could do this outside, it'd be perfect. But we're doing what we gotta do. Right?
It's 28 degrees right now in the East Coast. We're gonna use the grill pan.
In New York. So I'm gonna put my chicken on. I'm gonna try to talk louder if I need to. And the key for me when I cook chicken is to just keep an eye on it. You can see these are pretty thick. These will take every bit of, 3 to 4 minutes on each side. I do find when you cook on a grill pan inside, though, it's going to take possibly a little longer because you don't have the heat kind of all enveloping the chicken, if that makes sense. Everything's kind of underneath it. But yeah, so while that's cooking, you want to talk about some other meal prep stuff, Pip? Or
yeah, for sure. No, I think what you were saying about, the grill, when you think about having that envelope on top of it for being outside, and the chicken's going to cook a little faster. So the winter, if you don't want to go out and grill, I mean, I'm definitely a 365 grill guy. I shoveled the 2.5 feet of snow to get to the grill just so I could grill this winter. But with meal prep too, I like to use the grill because if we're doing a cook up in my house, we both have a pretty big week, just the way life goes now. So I'm cooking for myself, for Mrs. Pip, and for the boys. So when I get out on the grill, I can do chicken on one set of burners. I can do a London broil in the middle and then sausage on the other side. So I'm making different proteins for the week easily that way.
Forget vegetables are amazing on the grill too,
And that too, yep.
Perfect segue into like seasonal cooking. You got the grill. If you have it on and, you're cooking, a steak for that night and you want to meal prep, leave it on and cook that stuff after, use it to your benefit too. That's another way to look at it.
And when you get into that mixed vegetable type grill that I know I love to do with peppers and squash and pretty much any vegetables I can find, a tip that you had kind of taught me about seasoning that up is to get the vegetables into the bowl and then add into your seasonings, your olive oil and all that, correct?
Yeah. A lot of times what you'll see is somebody, put it on the grill, and then maybe drizzle some oil and throw some salt on it.
Go like this.
Yeah, they'll do this thing. Or, even when you roast it, they'll put it on the sheet pan and then just drizzle oil over it. And you just end up with an uneven cooked product. You might get brown spots here and not there. The seasoning won't incorporate into it as well. So I definitely recommend whatever ingredient it is, put in a bowl, put your fat, whether it's olive oil, avocado oil, whatever it may be, and then any seasoning. So if you're using salt and pepper or dry rubs or anything like that, toss it and then grill it, roast it, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I got one of those grill pans. It has holes all around it, and it has a removable handle. And that thing is aces on the grill for vegetables. Like,
Right. Nice.
You can shake them, you can flip them, whatever you need.
I'm gonna have to put my hood on.
Oh, you're starting to smoke out the house?
Can't have the boys showing up in my house. I'm gonna put it on. And I'm gonna switch out the green beans.
Still can't hear you, so you're okay. So now your grill pan you put on the oven, and now you're putting this back on the hot end?
Yep.
Nice. I could not manage that one, but that's why you're a pro and I'm not. But these things that we talk about with the cook up for the week, it's all in that preparation for your shift. Because like I was kind of saying before, where when I was on the ambulance and we didn't have anywhere to heat up our food, I'd stop in a Wawa and they would let you use and if you're not, Wawa is the ultimate convenience store in the New Jersey type area. So what, you're going to disagree?
Had it. This isn't going to work. I've had it before. It's all right. We'll make it work.
So I'd stop into a Wawa, any convenience store really, to see if I could heat something up there. But I was also, how AJ had said before, meal prepping for things that what if I couldn't heat something up? You have to be able to eat it cold. And is it going to be perfect? No, definitely not. But it's going to be better than all those other options that when you're out on the road that you see as fast, let's say, and simple, those are not always the best for you. And it's very easy to gravitate to those. But when you go to a shift prepared, you're way better off.
Right. And, I think part of it is having like the balanced meal prep. If you're on a certain diet, let's say, like no carbs kind of thing, it might be tough to do, but keeping it balanced with, a good, healthy, lean protein. In this case, we have grilled chicken, but you can, pork tenderloin is great. I think people don't think about that as much for meal prep. Shrimp, reheating it could be a little tricky, but anything lean London broil, skirt steak, flank steak, those kind of steak cuts. And then make sure you have enough veg, your green vegetable. In this case, we got green beans, but I think kale is great. Lots of fiber, carrot. Literally any vegetable you could think of. And then I think you need some kind of fiber. And in this case, we're going to get it primarily from our farro. But, beans. Beans are great. So when you stock your pantry, get a few cans of beans and always have those on hand. Brown rice, which I don't like to cook, as we all know.
It's because you're not good at it.
Yeah.
To jump back a little bit too, you mentioned shrimp, and what we've been doing recently, whatever you want to say, but is buying, it's pre-cooked baby shrimp. They're frozen in a bag. Okay. And legitimately, if you just let them thaw in your lunch bag all day, you can add them to a salad 4 hours later and you're good to go with that. It's just a quick, easy protein.
When it comes down to it, you got to work around your own schedule too. And everybody, these days is busy. They're doing something almost all the time. So I think it's important to keep it, simple, straightforward as much as possible. But we also want to keep it interesting with flavors and that kind of thing. So it's finding that balance.
Balance is key, just like when we talked about on the other pulse checks with your workouts and your fitness, is keeping that consistency with your fitness and that balance, and the fact that you're doing something every day or every other day. And it's the same when we come into nutrition. They always say you can't outrun a bad diet. You see people like running miles every day and then eating just horribly for every meal that they have. So this is a way to avoid that occurring for sure.
Exactly. All right, so while we have I got the chicken cooking right now. I've got the farro cooking. I wish I could do it here, but the setup is not working out for me right now. But we're gonna blanch green beans. So blanching vegetables is one of the most basic cooking techniques out there. It's something we learned in culinary school, and in, say, a restaurant setting or a catering setting, it's useful because it allows you to cook something ahead of time. In a meal prep, it's basically the same thing. You're catering for yourself, right? So blanching is cooking something in boiling water that's seasoned. So in this case, sea salt. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drain it and shock it immediately in an ice water bath. Typical ice water bath, you want equal parts water and ice, and that'll ensure that you cool the product down quick enough. And there's a couple benefits to it. When it comes to green vegetables, you set the color, so like that nice bright green that everybody likes to see, not like that dull, like olive drab green. It allows us to keep that bright green color, and then it also seasons everything, basically from the inside out, so you end up with a tastier product. And then in this case, we're not going to do anything with it after because we're going to dress it with our vinaigrette that we're going to make and our other sauce. But you could also put this in the fridge, and then you come home from a long shift. It's basically cooked. You toss it in a pan with some olive oil and garlic, and you got yourself a quick little side dish. So I got my water boiling. I'm going to season it really well, almost like pasta water. And then I'm going to drop my green beans, and they literally take 2 to 4 minutes probably, depending on the size of them. And then I'm going to drain them and chop them.
See, that always scares me. Like 2 to 4 minutes. I'm like, really? They're done in 2 to 4 minutes? Like,
it's, you know what? Boiling water, pretty efficient in cooking things. So it's fast. And when it comes to green beans, they're not as thick as, if you're doing carrots or something like that. So it all depends on the vegetable you're making, but it generally isn't a long process. So that's another good for the meal prep. You're not sitting behind.
what about, actually, I'm just asking you this for my own questioning, like sugar snap peas, same type of a deal with green beans? Excuse me.
As far as like blanching?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I personally like them not cooked. I think they're great raw. But yeah, you could use the same technique. You could really use blanching for anything. As far as vegetables go, I would steer away from like quick cooking things like zucchini and like bell peppers and that kind of thing. But when it comes to like green veg, peas, green beans, kale, spinach, carrots, all those, they all benefit from blanching. It's
I love raw vegetables too. So raw, to me, just a little raw vegetable,
right.
Good to go for the week. Just do a little chop up and I could eat them raw.
Plus, you get a little extra texture out of it too, and that's another key ingredient when you're cooking is, texture. That kind of makes you want more of it.
I did not know that. I knew texture was important, but I did not know it makes you want more though. So that's a new one for me there that we just learned. But when it comes to being prepared to, I highly recommend getting yourself, I'm going to grab mine here, it's below me, but getting yourself a good lunchbox, something that has a lot of different compartments in it, allows you to bring everything you need. This is a really old lunchbox of mine that I've used forever. I bring it to the firehouse with me, and I even bring my own snacks, like beef jerky, some like tuna in a bag, just in case I need something. You know what I mean? Like I'm hungry and I don't want a snack. I have some healthy snack options in here, a protein bar, some oatmeal, a can of tuna, just these nice and basics. And I would do the same thing when I didn't have the station, where my main packaged meals, I thought I unzipped this, would be in here. And then I would have all my snacks in the side pouches just ready to go. So
not reach for like the bag of chips or the box of donuts that somebody dropped off, because those are tempting things you could.
having this as the healthy end actually allows me to reach for that donut because I'm like, well, I have the donut one, and then I'll have the healthy stuff after that.
Right. Oh, maybe I'll cut the donut in half, you know.
Yeah, because you never go back to have the other half when you cut the donut in half for sure. But you know that goes along with the whole prep end of it. You know, it's kind of being prepared for everything. And I know when you're out on a busy medic truck or BLS ambulance, you could never see your station. So you need to have this in there because I'm a very unhappy person if I don't eat regularly, hangry, as my children call me.
Yeah, I mean,
and I need to kind of have that there. So that kind of kept me going. And I know a lot of hospitals offer, you know, healthy snacks, bottles of water, bananas, oranges, apples. I always took them. Well, probably now they're not offering them because of the whole, you know, new world that we live in. But at the time when I was working a lot of EMS, they were always offering them and I was always taking them. And my partners were like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I'm really hungry and I'm going to eat it now. Like right now, I'm going to have that.
Sounds like they were just jealous they didn't have it. All right, so I just checked my farro. As I cook, I like to taste. I'm going to drain it, and then I'm going to put it in a bowl, and then I'm going to toss it with some olive oil, and that's going to help the individual grains not clump together, which will be beneficial when you store it. You don't want to end up with a block of farro or something like that.
And we are probably at about 20 minutes on the farro now, right, AJ?
Yeah, this it said 30 on the package, but that's why, you know, I don't like recipes. I don't like directions. Right? They lied. It was about 20 minutes. But I also prefer a little bit of I wouldn't call it al dente, but more of a chew on mine. But if you taste it and you're like, no, this is definitely not the way I want it, then you keep cooking.
Yeah, and that's a good part of it. And you've always said this. I've heard you say this before. Taste as you cook. You know, taste as you go to make sure that it's seasoned the way you like it. It's cooked to the way you like it. I think too often, I know, not being a professional chef, I get a little scared while I'm doing that. I'm more than happy to admit it. And if I was just tasting as I went even more, I would get it to that level that I wanted it to be.
Right, and that's important too. Like, you know, a lot of times when I write a recipe, it'll say salt to taste. And I don't want people to think like, you know, they should follow, it says 1 tablespoon of salt, because what if I don't like that? You know, I might not like 1 tablespoon. So you put a little bit, taste it. It's always easier to add than it is to subtract. You know, there's ways to get around that, but it's better to add a little bit at a time. So just a little bit of olive oil. And then I'm going to give it a quick toss. And like I said earlier, this is great hot, room temperature, or cold. Really delicious, like summertime salad I like to do is tomatoes because they're in season, cucumber, some of the farro, and then basil. You do like it, you know, like an Italian dressing or a red wine vinaigrette or something, and you just toss it around. Delicious.
Basil is such an underused garnish. I don't know what the word would be in my life that I should use more, because every time I use it, I'm like, this. It's like cilantro. Like you can't get enough cilantro. I could keep cutting it and adding it.
For some people, cilantro tastes like dish soap. Are you worried about this?
No, I have not heard of this. People that don't like cilantro.
So my mother, she's one of them. And
One of them.
yeah, she's one of them weirdos. No, it's like there's a compound in cilantro that it reminds her of eating like dish soap, and it's not common. But I work with a guy, same thing. He can't have it in his food.
You know, one thing I can say about ZOLL, they are all about the science. I've learned enough doing the Assault on CPR challenge about science backing how we're doing things. And you literally just went ZOLL on me with the science behind people and the cilantro. I'm going to have to Google that because I can't imagine. It's so good. You know, another trick, AJ, too, that I'm sure to you, this is just commonplace. But again, I learned this kind of from you, is you have your olive oil not in the bottle it came in right there. You know, it's like professional chef type, you know, $1 squeeze bottle. But just doing that in my kitchen, It's just a better way to use the olive oil. You know, you're not worried about that pour and then being like, oh man, there's too much in there. Yeah.
So right now, the green beans are ready, and the chicken's ready, and my house is still full up with smoke. We're gonna pull the green beans off, let's drain them, and I'll put the ice bath here so you can see what I'm gonna do.
Sweet. And we still haven't set the smoke detectors off, so I think that we're okay still. You did disappoint me too a little bit, AJ, because you said you were going to toss the farro, and I was thinking you were going to do like a cool toss, like when you do the omelets that Levi can't do, but you didn't do that at all. So it was just a little kind of boring toss.
Yeah, make it.
See, look, it's a good cooking show now. Now we're like pro cooking.
See what I did?
Another good one when you're doing your cook up or you're cooking is have a towel ready. You know, I've learned that lesson the hard way as well. So have a nice, good kitchen towel.
And I keep the garbage can right next to me just in case. So I got the green beans draining. You could skip the ice bath step, but you're not going to get the same end product as far as keeping the color and the snappy, texture, I guess you could put it. So it's equal parts ice and water.
So in a completely different direction than I thought we'd be going in tonight, our good friend Tara from Flame Natural Decon Soap has jumped into the YouTube chat explaining more about the soap taste with cilantro. So if you'd like to know some more about the science behind it, feel free to jump over to the YouTube and check out what Tara has to say over there about it.
What is she saying?
These people have a variation in a group of the olfactory receptor genes that allows them to strongly perceive the soapy flavored, oh my God, aldehydes in cilantro leaves. It's genetic.
See?
So it's all about the science in soap. So there we go. Some dropping knowledge bombs.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't get those genes.
Good thing for all of us. So you got your ice bath ready, right? Did we miss that part? Was I talking about soap too long?
Yeah. So I got my ice bath ready. You want to basically keep the green beans or whatever it is in the ice bath as long enough for it to cool down. And you're basically shocking it and stopping the cooking process.
This is the actual blanching, correct? When you do this part, right?
No, it's a combination of the boiling and the shocking.
Oh, okay.
You didn't shock, you just boiled your vegetables. Make sense?
It totally makes sense. And now you're just dropping ZOLL words again because we shocked and they make the fibrillation machine. So like without plan, you got another one in there for them. So
wish I would have thought of that ahead of time. So it's cooled off. And then you want to just drain off the extra water.
About how long in the ice, AJ? Like a minute, did you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on, your ice water concentration, I guess you want to call it. But yeah, minute or two. You just want to feel it. You'll know if it's still hot to the touch. No bueno.
They look great though. I can't see them on the Zoom net because the camera's too far away from me. But looking at them on YouTube, you can see the green color is right there.
It just sets it really nice. So I just pulled the chicken off. Just like when you cook steak, or I think any protein, I like to rest them before we cut into them. In this case, I'm not eating it right away, so I don't mind if it cools off a little more, We set these on the side, we'll go into the sauce.
Nice. And another big thing too, as we get into the sauces here and AJ steps away, I talked about my lunch bag. When you talk about meal prep though, you want to get yourself some kind of a Tupperware collection. I have a humongous one that encompasses 2 cabinets in my house, but just different sizes. I like these types of ones because they have dividers. So if you did want to divide different things, you could. But another thing that I kind of like doing too to mix up the prep is just mix everything pre. So put your veg in with your farro, in with your chicken, shake it up and heat it up. You can get them in cup forms as soup to go. you need to have a good collection of different sizes and different things. I mean, I even go as far as to sometimes steal my kids' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ones. This way, no one else can steal it, saying that this lunch is theirs, because I know I brought it in my Turtle Power one. And then when it comes to sizes too, we're going to talk about making these sauces. And AJ is probably going to have more to say about this than me, but sometimes you don't want to put a sauce on 2 days prior and then reheat it. You want to put that sauce on fresh. So getting different sizes for sauces, like a smaller one like this, or kind of a stackable unit like this one, I use all the time, where you can put different things in this, whether you put fruit, nuts, and your sauce in the top, whatever it is, it allows you to just store everything and bring it to work or wherever you're going. So Tupperware is key.
What I like to do, because I'm very frugal when it comes to this kind of thing, I save any takeout containers. So if you go to the supermarket, sometimes they have like the hot food or the salad stations. At least mine, they give us these little rectangular containers. Sometimes they're circles. We save them. We have a ton of them in the basement, stacks, and those are great for your meal itself. So your chicken and vegetables and whatnot. And then also these are called deli containers. So if you go to a deli and you get a potato salad or something, they come in something like this. Don't throw them out. It's bad for the environment because you're just throwing plastic away. But the main thing is they work perfectly well, if not better than most of the commercial products, because they're intended to be abused by restaurants and kitchens. If you go to a commercial restaurant or a commercial kitchen, they're using these constantly. So I save these. And we're going to go over the sauce now, and you're going to see why these are perfect. They have a lid. If you look at the recipe, it says mason jar. I put that because I figured many people probably have mason jars.
If not, they're very easy to come by these days.
Right, exactly. So the first one I'm going to do is the one that Pip, I think, is most excited about. And that's the maple sriracha sauce. It's literally 3 ingredients. We kept it really accessible to everybody. Maple syrup, use real maple syrup. Put the pancake syrup, keep that in the pantry. Get real maple syrup. I use sriracha. I like the flavor of it. I think it goes really well with maple. You can totally adjust and use any, other hot sauce you like, or a combination of hot sauces, and then lime. So what we're getting here is we get sweetness from the maple syrup. We get acidity from the lime. We're going to use the zest on the outside as well as the juice. And then we're getting some heat and savory, salty notes from the hot sauce. Simple enough. I'm going to put them in my container. If you don't have a container, you can put this in a bowl and use a whisk. But you're going to see a container makes things a lot easier. So this is called a microplane. It's just a really fine grater. Highly suggest you get one. It's perfect for zesting citrus. There's a lot of essential oil in citrus that I think people tend to not think about, and they throw it away, and you're losing a lot of flavor. So I just zest it, and then I'm going to juice it, and that's it. And this could, you could put this on pretty much anything. It's going to be good. Sweet and to me, sweet, savory, and spicy is probably one of the best combinations out there.
If tomorrow wasn't St. Patrick's Day, I'd be making that tomorrow, but making other things tomorrow. So soon that will be getting made in my house.
Sometimes when you have citrus, if you feel it, it might be a little hard to get a little bit of extra juice out of it. You just roll it on the board or on your countertop. Use your palms. I've seen people put it in the microwave. I don't know how I feel about that.
I've done the roll, the old Italian roll trick.
I think if you put it in the microwave, you're heating it up, and then hot lime. I don't know. Not a fan. So most people will just do this and call it a day, right? Well, I had a chef who was insistent that I used a fork as well, because you get probably, I don't know, another tablespoon of juice out of your lime. So you just
Could use it all.
take the fork, stick it in the middle, and you're kind of doing a turning and squeezing motion at the same time. That's it. Put the top on. Mason jars work really well too, like I said. Depending on your hot sauce, I can't remember honestly if I put it in the recipe, but you might need to add a little bit of salt, depending on the hot sauce you use. But Sriracha's got a pretty decent amount of salt in it, so I think it's probably good.
Then you got to give it a taste. See, this is where I get jealous of you because I'm sitting here not being able to taste that.
It's hot. It's hot.
But then, if you need to temper that for you, you just add a little more maple and you're good to go.
More maple or less hot sauce.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to depend on your taste, but also the hot sauce you use. There's a lot of variables. That's why, going back to the not liking recipe thing, that's the reason why. So if you do it first go around and it works, beautiful. This would actually be really good on fried chicken and waffles now that I'm tasting it. A whole nother show.
That is a great show, though. We could do that one a whole nother night, too, for sure.
So that's it. We shook it up. It's ready to go. This would go, I think, perfect on the hot meal prep. And then now we're going to make a basic vinaigrette. So vinaigrettes, the ratio is almost always 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 oil or fat, I should say, to acidity. So in this case, our acidity is coming from the lemon juice and Dijon mustard, and then we have olive oil. Excuse me. Still like coughing on the sriracha. The Dijon mustard does a little extra thing to this vinaigrette as well. It's a natural emulsifier. So when you add mustard to any dressings and you shake it, or say you put it in a blender or use a stick blender or something like that, the mustard, which there's compounds in mustard seeds, I don't know the exact compound, whatever it is, they naturally emulsify things. So it helps keep the dressing or the vinaigrette kind of cohesive.
It's a science lesson tonight, too. No one knew they were really tuning into this, but it's chemistry. It's all kinds of gastronomy.
Yeah.
Who knew?
We're going to take our container again. I've got lemon juice, fresh squeezed. Please try to not use like the bottle.
The lemon, the plastic lemon that you cut the top off of. Don't use that one. That's what you're telling me.
I grew up eating that. So try to avoid it if you can. You can't really beat fresh lemon. So I got my Dijon and my lemon juice, and now I'm going to season it with salt. And the reason I'm going to do that is because this one, it's pretty acidic. You want it to be well seasoned, and I find it dissolves. The salt dissolves better in lemon juice on its own than when you add the oil. So I'll give it a little shake.
When you talk about those takeout containers, it's a little. I mean, it's a little funny, but 2020, obviously weird year. Lots of local restaurants were helping first responders and bringing meals to the stations. I know we had several restaurants where I worked do it, and we got to a point that we were starting to critique their delivery ability and the containers that they put the meals and the way they were packaging in them. And then apparently word got back, and it almost became a challenge for some of these restaurants to make the meal prep in the plastic container look good and the storage system look good, because they knew we were kind of judging.
That kind of says something, though, if they're going through the...
It was excellent. It was amazing, to see all these restaurants step up. And for us, we didn't need that. It was just a great thing that they did. And so many of them came back and did it. And, a lot even learned more about us, that there were different shifts. So I know, we run 4 shifts. The EMS department that we work with in the city I work in, they run 4 shifts, but it's 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts. So these restaurants were cooking meals and dropping them at noon for day shift, and then coming back sometimes at 10 o'clock at night for the night shift. So no one got left out. So it was just amazing things that come, you know, when tragedy strikes or whatever you want to put it, everybody comes together to make things better. But those containers, I got a lot of those containers in mine.
So I put the oil in, the olive oil, and now I'm just shaking. And you'll see when I take the top off that it's homogeneous, I guess. That's it, and that's due to the mustard. Give it another quick taste. Needs a little more salt.
Not enough. See, even he says it's not enough. You got to do it again.
And so now you might have to shake this up again. You know, if you put it in the fridge and, you know, over time it might start to separate, but just give it a quick shake and it comes together really quickly. All right. So now we've got our sauces built. Those are ready to go. Let's build a bowl, right? Or we'll build both of them.
Yeah, I am definitely a fan of the bowl. Like, put anything together in a bowl, you know, veg, protein, pasta, rice, farro, whatever you have, a little sauce. I'm good to go.
I'm slicing my chicken. I should have mentioned I'm slicing against the grain. You know, the grain's running a certain way. You want to slice against it, and that'll help keep it tender when you're chewing on it. Same thing goes with like steaks or any protein, really.
That's definitely one of my Google questions that I always forget when I'm going to use the knife you actually gave me for my 40th birthday party. Making sure I'm slicing something the right way. I have to quick Google or ask Alexa, which way do I cut this?
So there's oh my God, I almost forgot our garnish. Jeez. Real quick.
The garnish. How could you forget the garnish, chef?
So I got some fresh parsley. That's going to go on our Lemon-Dijon Vinaigrette one. Just make sure you wash your herbs and you dry them really well, because if you don't, when you go to chop them, they're going to stick together and it's not going to be fun. So I got my parsley dry. Real quick knife tutorial. I keep my fingers on the top, and it's a rocking motion.
That's a whole nother class right there too, is knife skills.
You could do that another day for sure. So I got my parsley. I like using fresh herbs, like I said in the beginning, just because it adds a little extra to the dish. It's like if you go to a restaurant and they did a little something extra to make it go, you know, a step further. Same thing. So then I got scallions, and this is going to go with the Sriracha maple. Trim the ends off. You want a sharp knife as well. Cut it on the bias to make it a little prettier. And scallion holds up really well as far as traveling too, so that's a great meal prep tip too. Okay, so I got my scallion. I've got some sesame seeds that I toasted previously in a pan, which I think is important. Let's make our bowl. Okay, so I've got farro. Like to make that kind of like the base. There's no rules as far as this goes. Green beans. You can see, like we talked about the color before.
Oh, I can see them totally there. It's all amazing looking.
Listen, adjust, you know, this is something, you know, you adjust your portions to what you want. To me, I like a little extra green bean, a little extra veg. And then you just lay our chicken on top. I only cut one piece.
I like how you're like, it doesn't have to look pretty. I'm like, yours looks so pretty. I just throw mine in there and move on. And there's nothing.
I'm a firm believer, like, you know, you eat with your eyes first kind of thing. So I'll pick this one to be our lemon vinaigrette. How are we on time? I think we're like right there, right?
We're like right there. We got like 5 minutes left by the way my clock is going here. So we're doing actually excellent as you're saucing things up.
So now, like you said earlier, I wouldn't do this if I was gonna transport this and bring it to work. All right, I would be doing this like right before I'm ready to eat it. I'm doing it now just for display purposes, I guess.
I mean, you could, like, if you're going to work tomorrow, you know, I've done that where I've sauced something and brought it in tomorrow, but I like to keep the sauce on the side too.
It's not lettuce or something that'll get soggy.
Yeah.
So with this, that's totally fine. You know, if you want, if anything, it would probably make the farro absorb it a little extra and, you know, make it even a little better. So I'm just gonna put feta. I like feta cheese. You know, it's got a ton of flavor, and it's relatively healthy as far as fat and that kind of thing goes. And then just a little bit of parsley. Chives would be great on this. Basil, I think, would be pretty good. Mint, fresh oregano, think of anything. There's one. And then I know I skimped on the portion of the chicken here.
And it's another thing too, that if you are dieting or counting your macros, you know, doing this, you're set for the week because you know what everything is that you're eating as the week goes on. So you're set, you know, in that way to have it all done in one shot.
Exactly. So this thing is like pretty spicy, so I'm gonna go a little easy on here.
Our good friend Terry Kehoe wants you to know that he wants some of this cooking next time we're all together. So
yeah, I'm down for that, man. You know that. This has got like a little bit of an Asian vibe going, so I think sesame seeds really great. It adds that texture that's always nice, a little bit of crunch. I think it's got great flavor too, and it's good for you. And then some scallion.
That looks great. I am in. I want some.
So 2 bowls. The maple one I would heat up, no problem. This one you could heat up if you want, but just dress it, you know, after the fact. And that's it.
Yeah, this is definitely a meal, like, again, good hot, good cold. If you can't heat it up, you know, you can snack on it throughout the day if that was your case, you know, whatever it was. It's one of those things that it's just simple and easy. And I think that's one of the bigger messages we wanted to convey tonight, that this can be something that's simply done. You know, AJ just did this in an hour while talking about cilantro and soap and things like that, and was able to work through it quite rapidly. And that's kind of the key to this, is finding what you can do at home to set yourself up for success, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, you could do something like this, but also cook a couple different proteins. You know, you could do a beef and a chicken, use everything else the same. And then that way it's like, all right, today I'll have the chicken, tomorrow I'll have the steak. I think keeping it interesting and delicious is the key.
So one of our friends that we've met, who's out in Indiana, Phil, he's apparently in the middle of a fast. So he didn't think tuning in right now was such a great idea, as he's not able to eat anything because he's on his fast right now. So we're sorry for you, Phil.
Guess what? I'm not.
I love the firehouse humor is the best. Something else too, you know, I wanted to mention this earlier and we just kept talking food, but also drink your water.
Yeah.
You know, hydration is key when it comes into your nutrition. And, you know, we've heard it before, like, oh, I'm going to drink my water after when I become dehydrated, and you're already behind the game. The general rule of thumb is half your body weight a day in ounces is a good general rule for your water intake. I definitely go over that each day, but that just adds to your general overall well-being, let's say.
I also think anytime I have a water bottle, I'm always more inclined to drink more water throughout the day, because if I have to go fill up a cup or something, you know, it's just, I think having that convenience of it definitely helps me out at least.
This is like my whoopee. I'm not even kidding. Like, when I don't know where it is, I'm like, where's my water bottle? Where did I leave it? Like, did I leave it here? Did I leave it there? I'm all over the place looking for it. Like, I need to know where this is at any given time. It's funny though, because at work, when I'm in the station, we have an ice maker. So I'm constantly filling a glass with ice and water. And I don't really use this. This stays in my office, but that glass is with me the same as, it's like my work will be almost, is a glass of ice water. So it just became commonplace for me. You just get used to it as a habit.
And everybody's got every house has the guy that leaves the cup around half full.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt. There's cups everywhere. I mean, coffee cups galore. You're like, how there's only so many of us here and we all drink coffee, but how do we leave half full cups around the station, right?
None of them
but when you're on the go, that's another big thing too, is having this water bottle so you're ready. I know, again, hospitals usually always have water in the EMS room for you. I always grab the bottle or two on my way out, even though I may have had this, I had extra ready to go. So being prepared is key. I don't have any other questions here on YouTube for us. Although Phil agrees that his wife says the same about his water bottle. So making your own adult whoopie out of a water bottle is not necessarily a bad thing. Chef, you got anything else for us tonight?
No, I think that's it. If anybody has any questions about what we cooked tonight or anything other, any other culinary questions, they could definitely ask and hopefully I can provide an answer with them.
So where do they find you then?
Funny you should say that. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't tweet per se, it's just connected. At Fork and Hose Co. So that's at Fork and Hose Co. DM me, tag me if you make a meal. I'd love to see it, I'd love to share it with everybody. So definitely tag us and send me any
tag
questions.
us. Tag them in your food prep too, and even reference this tonight, so we can see if you have other ideas or things. We plan on doing a pulse check once a month, so I'd love to have AJ back on in like 2 or 3 months. We could do a meal prep with the grill. I think that would be 100%. You may even get me cooking. If it's a grill, I'll be out there with you. I think we can make that happen because I do a lot of larger proteins on the grill.
Sure.
So that to me is I did a London broil yesterday and I still have extra. So that was my lunch today and there's still even a little bit more for the next day. So there it is, man. The maple sriracha is a hit on YouTube too, man. I'm telling you, maple lime sriracha, 3 easy ingredients, brother. So AJ, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight and joining us here on the 555 Fitness Pulse Check powered by ZOLL. As always, I cannot thank ZOLL enough for allowing us to do this once a month and keep trying to share healthy topics that are on the tips of the minds of all the EMS and fire and police providers out there. If you have any suggestions for these, feel free to reach out on Instagram at ZOLL EMS Fire, or you can reach out to me at 555PIP or at 555 Fitness. Also, if you are a fire, EMS, or police department, please go to 555fitness.org and apply for our fitness grant. You have about 2 weeks for the first round. That grant this year is worth over $15,000 worth of fitness equipment, educational training opportunities, healthy beverages,
cooking class,
decon soap, and a private cooking class for the members of your department by none other than Chef AJ. So there's a lot of things out there to be had. You have about 2 weeks for round 1. So get to 555fitness.org and fill that one out. Other than that, everyone, train hard, do work, give back. And as Chef AJ says, eat well. Thanks for joining us.